is not able to make it this evening. And I'm not sure about Shavari. She's had her wisdom tooth extracted, so she may still be dealing with that. So Jamie, would you please call the roll?
I would be happy to. I'll go ahead and start with Commissioner Crane. Okay. Commissioner Carter.
Here.
And Vice Chair G. And Commissioner Bedard.
Here.
And Chair Wheeler.
Here.
And I'm going to give her just a second. Commissioner Dixit has joined us as well.
Oh, okay, great.
And Commissioner Dixit,
I'm here too.
Perfect. Thank you, Commissioner Dixit. And with that, we do have a quorum with 6 commissioners present.
Wonderful, thank you. So now we go to the Pledge of Allegiance. Jamie, are you going to be able to put up the background?
Yep, give me just one moment. Okay, and I will go ahead and lead us.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jamie. Now I'd like to ask if any members of the public have comments on items not on the agenda.
I do not currently see any hands raised and did not receive any messages ahead of time requesting to speak.
Okay, thank you. So I guess we can just move along to items for consideration. And the first item are the minutes of the Thursday, October 7th meeting. I will just note that I saw 2 corrections, possibly on item number 2, update from the county staff. The first bullet point says SCCLD patron survey. I'm wondering if that should not read comments and results, or is it commitments and results? That's a question perhaps to Rose or Steve.
I would suspect that's commitments. That's
commitment.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. Then on the sentence that comes directly underneath that, the second sentence in that paragraph, it should say, she highlighted the following information. That's all I have. Are there any other edits that anyone sees necessary for the minutes? Okay. Then is there a motion to accept the minutes of October 7th?
Move.
Okay, I'll second. Jamie, would you call the roll for the vote?
Be happy to. I'll start with Commissioner Bedard.
Aye.
I'll go to Vice Chair G.
Aye.
I'll go to Commissioner Dixit.
I'm raising my hand in favor.
Perfect, thank you. Commissioner Carter.
Yes.
And Commissioner Crane. And Chair Wheeler.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, that passes unanimously.
Okay, item number 2 is the Santa Clara County Library District presentation. Steve, are you going to lead that? I
certainly can. And let me just say, I did mention the new computer. I'm in a new room and I've got kids and a dog over here. So I apologize if you hear any noises that weren't intended. But let me share my screen here. And, okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let me move everybody out of the way a little bit there. Okay. Okay, so first up, the big news, of course, is our new hours, which include some evenings at all of our locations. For Los Altos, that will be Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Will be open from 10 to 9 p.m. now, and that started this week. So it started this Tuesday. So hopefully we're getting a lot of new and familiar, formerly familiar faces into the library who can now take advantage of some of our evening hours. The Woodland hours did not change. So you'll see those there. So we're still offering those 6 hours per day, or excuse me, 5 hours per day, 6 hours some days, not including Sundays yet. We also have our homework help going on right now. So this is homework assistance mainly for grades 6 through 12 in person. We do have an online component for the younger kids who can't be vaccinated just yet. But we do have a cohort at Los Altos. So that's Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 5. And it is drop-in. So any student that you know of grades 6 through 12 who would like to take advantage of it, please send them our way. It is also National Novel Writing Month. So NaNo, I forget the whole acronym. I'm not even going to try to finish the rest of it, but it's become kind of an event throughout the country now. So it's encouraging individuals to write up to 50,000 words of a novel in 30 days. It's a lot of fun. If you would like to learn more about that, please visit our website. We have started some in-person programs, and we do have some virtual programs as well still. So it's kind of like a hybrid model, kind of like what we've been discussing before. In this particular case, we have some poetry readings in Gilroy. Excuse me. And we also have a few events coming up in November on Zoom. So a caregiver workshop and Farm to Forks, which is about cooking. So please join us for those. And I believe that's it. It's a short report this month.
Okay, thank you so much, Steve.
Sure. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question.
Sure. Let me stop sharing. There we go.
Steve,
yeah.
The library hours,
Mm-hmm.
Altos, are those for both branches, both the library and the Woodland?
So the hours are a little bit different. So Los Altos, we've added 2 evenings on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Woodland, Rose, correct me if I'm wrong here, but we did push the hours a little bit.
Yeah.
So we kind of aligned. I'm sorry, I just cut you off after asking you a question.
Okay.
But we tried to align them for the hours that they were previously. So we moved the Thursday through Saturday to 11 to 5. It was originally 1 to 6. So we've added 3 additional hours for now. We are anticipating getting most of our DSW back as soon as this wave of vaccinations takes place with the younger kids. So once that happens, we're hoping to start looking at even more hours, hopefully pre-pandemic hours, starting with the new year.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Do any of the other commissioners have any questions of Steve? Does any member of the public have a question?
Not currently seeing any hands raised.
Okay. And Rose, are you next in line for presentation?
Yeah, I'll share my report right now. Thank you, Freddie.
Thank you, Rose.
All right. So let me start my presentation. All right. So as Steve had mentioned, as we're preparing to expand our hours, we are hiring more staff. And so this is one of our new staff members. His name is Tim. He's a library page. So he started a couple weeks ago. And we have a few more that started this week, which I'll put on our next report. But he's been a great addition to our staff. It's great to see him start working at Los Altos. And a fun fact is his mom is actually a children's librarian at Cupertino. So we're lucky to have him. Some statistics. So a little bit of decrease in our items checked out. However, it does coincide with system-wide. All of the libraries have a decrease as we see, and it just seems to be a trend right now. But our online access by patrons is actually remaining steady. So, we're assuming people are, just checking out more virtual of our virtual resources than the coming in and checking out physical items at this time. Items checked in did go up slightly. Patrons served at the library, very close, down by about 400 for Los Altos, but kind of goes with the items checked out and checked in. And you'll see with patrons served online, it's steady. And we saw an increase last month and a slight decrease this month, but nothing to be too concerned with. As Steve mentioned, our expanded hours. So this was our first week. Everything seems to be going great at both locations. Our staff are prepared and ready, and I think our patrons are very excited to be able to have those evening hours. Some programs I just want to highlight for Los Altos, thanks to the Friends. We have brought back our book clubs, but they're more of a book club kit. So children could check out a kit for either second to third or fourth to sixth grade with some activities. And if they finish the activities and read the book, they come back and they get a prize. We've been invited to several community events this month. This one was the pumpkin carving with the cop, and it's, I think, our third year participating. So this is Jean participating. She loves this event, so she always volunteers to attend. We also had an art gallery. It was kind of a walkthrough art show that Bryant put on, and it went really well. You'll see it's a beautiful art, and it was a one-day thing in our orchard room. And this was a really huge hit. It was our Halloween Carnival. It was on Saturday, the 30th. Our staff said we had 700 people that they counted, but you'll see our statistics show we had actually over 1,000 more people in the library just on that day. So compared to the previous Saturday. So it was extremely popular. It was indoor, outdoor, and the community was really into it. They showed up in their costumes. Our staff did such a great job in planning and coordinating it. It took a whole team effort for everybody that worked at the library to be able to put this event on. So, and also want to thank the Friends for, funding this program for us. So we're really happy that it went so well. We were also invited to the Halloween Spooktacular, and this was, they had interactions with almost 300 people. This was at the Veterans Plaza, and so it was also a very well attended event by the community. And we're having a concert at the soccer field, so thank you to Parks and Recs and to the Friends for partnering with us. And it's going to be an outdoor concert with Sean's Music Factory. He's a great musician for just a family style event. And let me see, I have one more. Okay. Okay, yeah, and then this last one. So I just wanted to I want to steal her thunder, but I just wanted to highlight Charvery had put up a display. She worked with our staff to put up a Diwali display, and happy Diwali. Today is Diwali for the library, and she wrote an article for the Town Crier, and it was on the online version. So we're really happy to have this display and be able to celebrate this holiday. And I also want to stop sharing and go back to sharing and show you our marketing team put together a really good video of Los Altos. Let me find it really quick. Hold on. It's on our YouTube page. And let me just close out of this really quick and open up the video for that. So I just want to show you that we do have a YouTube page, and I'll show you the video. So it was Diane and her team put this video together they made a video specifically for Los Altos. Every library is getting a video. So let me find Los Altos. Let me make the screen bigger.
Los Altos Library is one of 2 SCCLD sites that is located next to an orchard, calling to mind the region's agricultural past. The first library in Los Altos opened way back in 1914 with just 50 books in its collection. and in 1964, the current library was constructed in the City Civic Center, located at 13 South San Antonio Road. Rose Baisa has been the community librarian at Los Altos since 2020.
Here at Los Altos Library, we welcome you to enjoy our beautiful surroundings and come inside where you will find a world of adventure and lifelong learning.
The children's room is a special place for little ones, with Giraffe and Llama always ready to make new friends. Check out the art wall just outside the children's room, which has displays of their creations and changes monthly. Teens also have their own dedicated space to study, relax, and collaborate. Los Altos features the Virginia Whipple Collection, named after a major benefactor of the library. Thanks to the Los Altos Library Endowment, the library offers a special collection of science and technology library materials for children, teens, and adults. Come and peruse our large collection of music and movies, magazines, and popular book titles. Los Altos has everything under the sun to nourish your mind and your soul. We look forward to serving you. Also in Los Altos is the Woodland Branch Library, which is located on Grant Road, 4 miles south of the main library. Woodland Library is perfectly situated to serve the nearby residential community. Woodland is a great place to quietly reflect or curl up with a good book in the cozy interior of the library. This neighborhood library is pedestrian and bike friendly. Any way you get here, you are welcome at Woodland Library.
Okay, so let me stop sharing. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
That's a great video. That's really nice, really nice.
Thank you.
Hi, Rose, Pierre. Are you looking at opening up on Sunday?
We're looking at probably in the new year to open up on Sundays, expand our full hours. As Steve had mentioned, we're getting our DSW staff back as soon as they're done with this current round of vaccines, and we're allowed to hire, so we're slowly filling all our vacancies in order to be able to staff to the full capacity. And we're also looking at opening passport offices sometime in the new year as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And Sharvari gets the record for making an impact on the commission with the Diwali thing. I'm impressed.
It was all the librarians doing. I have to tell you the secret. Thank you so much, Rose.
No, thank you. You made it very easy. You're easy to work with, and gave us good ideas and collaborated really well with the staff. So thank you so much.
Fantastic. And thank you for showing that, Rose. Appreciate it. Do any members of the public have questions for Rose?
I do not see any hands raised. And then Commissioner Crane, I saw that you were, I'm not sure if we can hear you when you were speaking. Nope.
Oh.
Not yet. Okay. Just wanted to make sure you were able to share your comments.
Okay, anybody? No questions? Okay. All right, so then the next item on the agenda is the North County Library Authority presentation review. So Jamie, would you share screen, please?
Whoops, I realized that I was on mute. I will be happy to share.
No problem, thank you. So while Jamie's queuing that up, I'll just talk to you a little bit about, the commission just agreed that the infrastructure subcommittee would make a presentation to the NCLA to discuss the Woodland expansion. And we did that on, I believe it was October 28th. I put the wrong date. That was the date for the joint meeting with the council. But so you've seen this presentation several times. And Jamie, if we could just kind of scroll through quickly. I went through a two-phase, phase 1 and phase 2, where we talked about, we could just, oh, Jamie, I'm sorry, would you go back one, please? Where we could just, make some changes to the library to serve some of the immediate needs. The biggest one, obviously, is the Open Plus, which came out of the Futures Subcommittee. And then maybe, for example, looking to see if we could get a library layout professional to assess whether rearranging Woodland could help with the noise issues. And we just proposed to discuss this with NCLA to get some feedback about any way that they might advise us or help us with this. Could you go to the next one? And then this is the interior layout. We know that, so let's go to the next one. And the next one. And the next one. I think maybe if we scroll down through some of these. Morgan Hill obviously just finished a beautiful children's area. If you'll go to the next slide. This is their children's activity room. All of this was added to their library. Could you go to the next? And this room looks very messy, but it's because it was in their COVID area time where they were storing furniture and things in there. But this is a very large room that also has a kitchen area so that they can serve their lunches for kids in there. And this is about the size of the addition to Woodland that we were talking about. So could you go to the next one? They have enclosed quiet areas like we're proposing for adults in Woodland so that they can be separated from the kids. The kids are at Woodland a lot, and they make they take full advantage of that library. It's really a wonderful library for the kids to go after school. There's tutors who go there and tutor the kids. And it would be nice if the adults were able to read and work in an area that was quieter. So if you could go to the next slide. And we showed the NCLA Cupertino's expansion. It's going to be quite a large expansion. Top floor for children's program, bottom floor for community meeting rooms. If you'll go to the next slide. And they also have glass enclosed rooms. There they enclose the children so instead of the adults. So if you'll go to the next. They have a teen room similar to the one that we have in the main library. They are a large enough library. They have teen enclosed rooms, and they have for the younger kids. Could you go to the next? Phase 2, we talked about having 2 rooms, the adult quiet room and a community meeting room, but only opening the adult quiet room and leaving the community meeting room just for, to be similar to the orchard room, where the if the library wanted to sponsor, some sort of event, then they could bring staff from the main library to man that event. And at the other times, it could be used similar to the orchard room to rent out to, people in the community who have a need for meeting rooms, and just have the adult room being used. And Rose felt that there would be no need for additional staffing if it were just the adult room, because it would have a glass wall that it would be easily seen. So it's just kind of a staged way of being able to bring those rooms on board. And if the foot traffic and the circulation, et cetera, the gate count increased to a point where the formula for adding staff allowed adding another staff member, then it could be perhaps open during all the open library hours, the community meeting room. Okay, next, please. And again, meeting and group study rooms, that was one of the things that the Woodland Library really could use. Could you go to the next one? Okay, one of the things that became in our discussions with NCLA, it was very interesting, is it seems like this parking area that's down here, you know, one of the problems or one of the situations with Woodland is it definitely could use more parking at times. And there's this area that belongs to the city here that could be developed. More parking spaces could be added here. You would just have the entrance to the library, the road here. Can you see my cursor?
No, yes.
You can? Okay, so you could have the library, yeah, I mean, the exit comes here and then you could drive all the way down and the exit would just be at the end of this additional added parking spaces. That would seem to be something that could be done as soon as the city has any available funding, and if the city council would consider that, would be a real helpful addition to Woodland. Could you go to the next slide? That's obviously where the expanded area would be built. And the next slide.
Hey, Freddie, can I ask a question?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, my understanding is that the library, the Woodland Branch Library, is basically used during the school year for pickup of children. Does that cause traffic issues in the small parking lot they currently have? And if so, does it make sense to ask for perhaps a traffic study or something, some expertise to be applied in terms of how we could alleviate the situation with regards to picking up kids?
You know, that's a good question, Melvin. I do know kids do stay at Woodland and study until their parents can pick them up. I do not know if that is a problem as far as traffic or parking goes. What I have noticed is that when you go to Woodland, oftentimes it can be difficult to find a parking spot just because they're all taken, and that's at times that don't coincide with picking up kids. Right. So I don't really know the answer to that question, but that's something, to maybe ask the librarians if they know, the people who work at Woodland, or just camp out there for several days and try to observe.
Freddie?
Yes.
When I spoke to the people at St. Simon, remember I talked to them?
Yes, yes.
Part of our subcommittee report. I brought up that question. I asked about if they had any issues, if they felt there were too many cars and so forth, that impact. And they said they did not see a problem.
Okay.
It was one person I spoke to. So I think Melvin is bringing up a really good point.
Yes, I do. I think that's an excellent point. And I'm certain that, this is something that should the city move forward with any type of investigation as to adding new parking spaces, that would be something that they would absolutely consider. But it might be worth two things: asking the library staff there if they are aware of an issue, and then secondly, what I do is I go and I sit and I observe for several days to try to make, and I mean, obviously that's not a scientific study or anything, but it does give you an idea as to what are the issues. Could I go to the next slide, please? So again, this is some of what we talked about with the NCLA, just 2 phases, you know, seeing really the whole purpose of the discussion with the NCLA was to see what their thoughts were, and you know, whether or not the NCLA would be interested in any type of feasibility study for this expansion. And could I go to the next slide, please? So I went over all of this with them. They had a number of questions, and I will tell you who the board members are for the NCLA. Number 1, it's our mayor, Nisa Flieger, and our liaison, council member Sally Meadows, our the board member that we appoint to the NCLA, Cindy Hill, and 2 people from Los Altos Hills, Suzanne Epstein, and then a new council member, I believe, from Los Altos Hills, Lisa Schmidt. So those are the 5 people who are the board members. And there was discussion, about, and I did let them know that the Library Commission had just unanimously approved the future subcommittee request that that they go and meet with the NCLA to discuss reactivating the task force, the redevelopment task force, and that the main library, we would like them to put that issue in play again. So of the 5 board members, 4 of them, Nisa Flieger, our mayor, Sally, our liaison, and the 2 board members from Los Altos Hills, Suzanne and Lisa, those 4 members of the board felt that it might be that the 2 libraries should be considered together, that it should be something where, for example, were there to be any type of effort to put a bond issue on the ballot, it would be for both libraries. Cindy, who can speak for herself here, but Cindy felt that the community might not be ready for the bond issue of the magnitude that it would be for a new library and the Woodland branch in the near future. And so this is a smaller, just more, a less expensive, discrete project that she felt we should look at moving along now. There was no resolution. Suzanne Epstein brought up, she felt that the NCLA, the revenues that the NCLA get from the parcel tax could only be used for paying for extended library hours. However, that needs to be actually I discussed that with Jamie, and for example, the parcel tax revenue was used to pay for the feasibility, the 2018 feasibility study and needs study for the main library redevelopment task force. So I think there is some clarification that needs to be made about what the funds could be used for. But at any rate, I think because the vote is 4-1, that to wait and include the Woodland plans with any plans for a new library, that I think, you know, we're looking at just tabling this for the time being. And essentially that really was the outcome of the NCLA meeting. So I'd be happy to entertain any questions at this time. And Cindy, if I have mischaracterized the outcome of the meeting, please weigh in.
So actually you did an excellent job. Thank you very much. In looking over my notes, that's exactly what I said, what happened. And it wasn't a vote of 4-1. No. It was a discussion and it was consensus more. And what we're finding is that our new representative from Los Altos Hills and is very new to all of this library discussion. So she's getting her feet on the ground. She's in a very deep learning mode. And they also recommended that they step back and take another look and read the older, the previous documents, just get a sense of what has gone in the past and where we might be able to go in the future. So that's pretty much where we're standing right now. There was also some discussion about the money that was donated through the Whipple allocation. And actually, I have to bring this up with NCLA and with Lolly. What the Friends said is actually, it was not accurate. The Friends indicated that the city of Los Altos can decide how that money is spent, and then Lolly would turn on the faucet for that money. The bylaws of Lolly, which was created, the bylaws of Lolly do not indicate that at all. Lolly has complete control of that funding with the intention of using it for the libraries. And so there needs to be some clarification on that and some additional research in that area.
Thank you so much, Cindy. Are there any questions from the commissioners?
And Chair Wheeler, both Commissioner Bedard and then Councilmember Meadows have their hands raised.
Oh, okay. So Councilmember Meadows, would you please go ahead?
Oh, no, I want to hear from Commissioner Bedard first, because it's good to triangulate what we all heard at that meeting. So I will yield the floor to Pierre.
Oh, okay. Boy. So ironically, this was like one of the first NCLA meetings I hadn't shown up at. But the point I wanted to make is that I wrote a paper about the NCLA agreement and like actually read the agreement, and I advocated in my memo that we take an expansive approach as to what the funding is for, that it's for the benefit of the people, and not, reading the agreement, it's not segmented to any one thing. It's really, as I read it anyway, it was for the benefit of the taxpayers. So, and I advocate in my memo for a very open-ended or, open interpretation of that. That's the point I wanted to make.
Thank you. So, Councilmember Meadows, would you like to speak now?
Sure, thank you very much, Chair Wheeler. So it was a very wide-ranging conversation. I haven't seen the draft minutes yet, and I don't envy Marcy Scott for having to put those together. And I cannot claim to be an expert on, NCLA funds indeed may or may not be specific to library hours. Then if they paid for task force before, then, that makes sense. But there potentially are lolly funds. But so where I might have a slightly different interpretation from you, Chair Wheeler, is that I don't know that tabling it is the right thing to do. I think there was a lot of variables in play and discussed at that meeting. I got the impression that maybe NCLA wasn't even convinced as a group that they were the right group to be asked some of those questions that were asked. And certainly when you begin to talk about bond measures and you're talking about broader bond measures covering both libraries, I think, Cindy's comments are very valid that, you know, that's an intimidating thing to do. But I don't think I would drop the exploration. So for example, let's say Lolly is willing to fund something at Woodland as an interim measure, but we don't look at Woodland in isolation, and we think about that measure at Woodland in the context of an overall expansion of the city's libraries, plural, in the longer term, and what might that look like. So I think you got feedback that going for the whole thing and looking at it broadly, if we were to consider everything together, because I do agree, and I was one of those who didn't want to look at it just in isolation. But I think if you approach it in a stepwise basis, and again, I don't understand Lolly's criteria well enough to understand what they may or may not fund, but if you could rationalize an expansion to Woodland that would facilitate whatever we may choose to do with the libraries in the future, then that could be a way, you know, to move forward. You know, because we have several open questions. We have, you know, Friends of the Library, their location is an open question. We have, you know, what does Woodland itself need? What do we need if the main library undergoes, you know, if we put a new building, what does that interim construction thing look like? I mean, none of this is going to happen in the next 2 years just because of funds and resources and all that. But if you can think about it in the context of the overall picture and try to identify an alternative that maybe Lolly can fund, but works into an overall scheme of the big picture, I think that's worth thinking about. And so I came away from that meeting thinking, oh my God, what did we even just say? Because it wasn't clear to me. But I wouldn't take it necessarily as direction to table. I think that it was just too much to consider. And so if infrastructure wants to think about it strategically, and how might you propose a stepwise approach to look at the bigger picture of where we might want to go 2 to 5 years from now, or 5 to 7 years, or whatever the time frame is. Certainly we're going to be in a pinch over the next 2 to 3 years post-pandemic. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, and we'll have to see what the minutes say.
Thank you so much. That's really very, very helpful. And it is an interesting situation because so the main library, the redevelopment of the main library is the jurisdiction of the future subcommittee. And Nelvin is on the future subcommittee, and Nelvin is on the infrastructure subcommittee. And we have said recently that, you know, that the plans for these two, the redevelopment and the Woodland expansion, really should be considered together, but for the Brown Act. So we have an issue with the Brown Act. However, I think stepwise, your suggestion is excellent. And maybe we can look at how might we plan this out so that we can make incremental improvements or progress. And especially if, for example, you know, one of the things that the infrastructure subcommittee has always looked at as a real possibility is trying to raise the funding for this expanded building by private donations. And were that possible, even if, you know, even if it were perhaps in combination with some contribution from the Lolly funds, then that might be a whole different kettle of fish, so to speak, because I do understand that, you know, the city's financial situation for the next 2, perhaps 3 years is not going to allow for new things like this. I mean, you know, there's already, the CIP has plenty of things on it that unfortunately may be unfunded, you know, not funded because of our revenue shortfall. But I appreciate that very much, Councilmember Meadows. And we will take that and work on that.
I think it's worth doing because I don't think, you know, we just want to shut down the thoughts. So you just don't necessarily want to barge forward and say, well, we need a bond measure this year or next for 2 libraries. And, you know, that's, but, you know, so I think continuing, and if you have to agendize instead of the subcommittees discussing it, if the, you know, if it's at the commission as a whole, so you can talk about it and don't have to worry about infringing on the Brown Act, then that would be good. But, and again, the big picture includes Friends of the Library. So, and one other thing, and I don't know which of the subcommittees it might be good, but it might be good to talk to someone at the Finance Commission, because I know a number of people have put in plugs already for thinking about how we can actually take donations and grants and whatever. I don't think we have a good mechanism in place. So if you start knocking on their door and they get, you know, a dozen knocks on the door in the next few months about, hey, we want to take money because we want to do this, then maybe it'll end up on their agenda. So there's a lot of moving parts. I think that's why NCLA seemed to be so, I don't know what the right word, confused maybe? Not confused, but it was just too big. So, but I wouldn't put it in a drawer. I would think about the overall picture and move stepwise forward.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. And a great suggestion about knocking on the Finance Commission's door. We will take that as an action item. Thank you.
Yep. All right, good.
Thank you. Any other questions from the commissioners? Are there any, I don't know if I've asked, are there any questions from the public?
I'm going to give it just a second to see if there's any other hands raised. And I do not currently see any at this time.
Okay. So shall we go to the next item on the agenda is the work plan. And I want to thank everyone who worked on updating the subcommittee work plans so that we could have them all ready for the joint meeting with the City Council. Thank you very much. And I think just one point that I'd like to make is I think we need to start putting some flesh on the bones of the 2022 work plan as we move forward. I'd like to go around the commissioners to get their input and suggestions about the work plan. Pierre, could I go to you first, please?
Sure. The question is, oh, my thoughts on the work plan?
Yes.
I mean, so there's 2 ways to look at it, right? As a guide, you try to identify big items within the subcommittees that you want to tackle. Not too many, but you know, stuff that people want to work on, people can realistically do. And I also see it as communicating it once a year, as you've just been through, Chair Wheeler. It's, you know, gathering all this stuff up together. It's not as trivial as one would think. So having some consistency in the stylistics of it, keeping it as brief as realistically you can, I think is important. But those are, you know, that's my input.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I will say that, you know, you and Nelvin and others really helped put that together. So it wasn't just me. It was definitely a joint effort to get that all together and up to date and complete. So thank you to everyone. Okay, well, I think I'd like to go around. Carol, do you have any thoughts on the work plan and perhaps, you know, how we might go forward, putting some flesh on the bones?
Well, I'm only really familiar with the awareness subcommittee work plan and the infrastructure ones, and I think they are quite complete, but from what I've read. So to answer your question, I don't have any additions at this time.
Okay.
Work plans.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Crane, is your audio working?
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Okay, I've got my phone.
Oh.
So I don't know why, because it was working when I first signed on and then it stopped and now I'm on my phone. You know, and I'm so glad to talk about this, the only thing that I think I've experienced is that I'm on the services committee and I'm on the futures committee, love both committees. There is, and Melvin helped with this a great deal. There's still a little bit of overlap because there's services on both. And so that's the only thing, because we're talking about something in the services committee, and I think Rose is the only person who probably knows what I'm talking about. And it's a bit of a novel idea, and I'm not sure that it should go to futures. So that's the only thing that gives me pause. And I don't know if this is the right forum to discuss it. That's the only thing where I'm questioning, because I don't want to violate the Brown Act. So.
Okay. Okay. Well, I tell you what. Why don't we have? I mean, we do. This is really a very broadly stated agenda. Agenda item. So I'm not sure that we'd be violating the work plan if you talked about just. Maybe not the specific issue, but the conflict of trying to have something that kind of crosses over into two subcommittees. And I just mentioned that as far as trying to merge the strategic planning for the main library redevelopment and the Woodland expansion. So trying to talk about that at the same time ends up being a problem, and I think you have a similar one. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what we talked about on the services committee is potentially sort of something new, a sort of and I don't want to go too far into it because it may be all speculation. We still need to talk about it, but sort of a new way of delivering some service. And then I'm wondering, well, if it's a new and novel way of delivering service, shouldn't that be on the futures committee? And I brought it up in the futures committee, not the subject, because I don't want to violate the Brown Act, but I brought it up in terms of what do we talk about? So I guess that's the one thing. I can continue to talk about it on the services committee. I just don't want to. It would be new and novel. And so I guess at some point we would have to maybe do what we did with the other thing and explore it more and then bring it to the full committee, full commission, so that perhaps then we can make sure that the futures committee doesn't want to take a little look at it.
Okay. Maybe that sounds maybe like a good thing. Wherever it originates, just work on it until it's ripe for the whole commission, and then
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a good problem to have, I guess. We've got ideas, so
yes. Okay.
All right.
Melvin?
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Melvin?
I don't really have a whole lot to say regarding the work plan. I think for the futures, we're at a point where we'll get together, kind of talk about some ideas on what we can be exploring over the course of the next year or so. And my suggestion to Julie would be, you make the call in terms of whether what you're thinking about is an idea you want futures to work on or not. And if you don't, then we just will remain blissfully in the dark.
Okay. Shivari?
Hi. I am part of awareness and service, and I have attended both the subcommittee meetings. Pierre has been kind enough to help me out, and I think Julie was with us in one of the other meetings. I'm just trying to get my feet wet. I think the work plan is fine for right now, and The more I learn, the more I know.
Okay, thank you, Shivari.
Thank you.
Okay. Does any member of the public have any comment or question about the work plan?
And I will give it just a moment to see if there are any hands. And I do not currently see any hands raised. Okay,
thank you. So we'll next go to informational items. Do we have, is Mary Jo Price the representative of the Friends?
No, actually, Mary Jo is a recreation staff member. She's our new recreation supervisor overseeing our new community center.
Oh, okay. Well, welcome, Mary Jo. So I'm not seeing any representative from the Friends attending tonight. Is that your take, Jamie?
That is. I resent it and I did not receive anything back. And so I think we can go ahead and go past that item since there is no representative present.
Okay. So Cindy.
Can I,
oh.
Hi, can I just say something? I actually attended their board of directors yesterday, the Friends. And as I've been attending their the Friends board of directors meetings for a while, and they are rotating people coming in, and as a result, we're not getting, you know, they asked a question yesterday about who was coming in, and they didn't say anything. I mean, the big questions they had, and you know, what they're looking to is futures in terms of sales planning, specifically getting dates locked and loaded, and getting their rates down in the recreation or in the community center for their events. That was probably their biggest issue.
Okay.
And I think I wanted to bring that out to the commission.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Pierre. Okay.
Sure.
All right, so let's go next. Cindy, would you please give us an update about NCLA and Lolly?
Sure, I'll start with NCLA. So we did have our meeting and we did resolve our payment situation with the city of Los Altos, and we've agreed to go forward. And we're figuring out ways, both the city and NCLA are figuring out ways to resume the administrative support that the city had been providing, and because it is in our bylaws. And then we also we are going to be exploring how and if we should add the unincorporated residences in Los Altos to the NCLA boundaries. I can't remember how many residents that is, but it's several hundred, which means that they get to use our libraries without paying any tax. They don't pay the NCLA tax on that. So, but it's going to be a long process. So you can count on years before anything is decided about that. And it probably will have to go to a vote. And we also understand that because of the Brown Act, that if we want to continue holding virtual meetings up until Governor Newsom picks a date, that we need to meet monthly to vote on whether or not we will hold virtual meetings. So it's a 15-minute meeting to present a motion and to vote on that motion. And we have that meeting set for November 15th. So at this point, there isn't any other business that's going to occur at that meeting. It's just a pro forma one to see whether or not we want to continue holding virtual meetings. If we agree not to hold virtual, that would mean we would go in person. And the other part is that Freddie gave this excellent presentation, and it generated a lot of discussion, a lot of questions, a lot of information was given, and more information needs to be given. So again, I think this will be an ongoing conversation and process for the NCLA group to explore. And then moving on. So any questions about NCLA?
Cindy, is the next scheduled meeting January? For January?
Probably. It's not yet scheduled. We have to vote on what kind of meeting we're going to have. But yes, that would be the next one. We don't have any emergency meetings or any reason to meet in November or December at this point.
Thank you.
So then with Lolly, we are still in the process of strengthening and updating our infrastructure. And a lot of that takes a look at our bylaws and do we need to make some changes on those because they are well established, but they may be hindering us in getting some work done. So we're looking at the process behind that. But in addition to that, our next meeting is next Tuesday at 8 a.m. And it's actually going to be a mixed meeting where the first part of the meeting is going to be a presentation and discussion with the Silicon Valley Reads and Reed Meyer, R-E-I-D. I love her first name for the job that she's doing. Reed is going to be presenting what Silicon Valley Reads is all about, a little bit of the history of it, and then how and why various groups such as Lolly are financially investing in it. You know, what does that give back to our various cities? So I'm looking forward to that. And then after that presentation, which we're allocating about 20 to 30 minutes, we will go into a closed session. And so all of our guests will be invited to leave because then we're going to be discussing the nominations for board members and also discussing a little bit about what our board members will be doing. So since it's about people, we need to keep that meeting just to the board members that are there. And and we are having our newsletter. We've written our newsletter and it's going to be printed next week. And then it'll be going out to all of the people that are on our mailing list, including our donors, and then people that are interested in Lolly. So any questions about Lolly?
Okay. Thank you so much, Cindy.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Are there any members of the public with questions?
I do not currently see any hands raised.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Cindy.
Mm-hmm.
So Jamie, would you like to please present the information from city staff?
It would be helpful if I take myself off mute. All right, so informational items from the city. The first part of my report is that we are currently working to build up our staffing because now that we do have our fee structure for the community center, we are working to get some additional staff and build that back up after having been closed for over 1.5 years. For facility attendants, we included the direct link to the position. So we are looking for some enthusiastic individuals that might want to join our team and help support our facility rental program. In addition, we are continuing with our fall programs, and our fall session registration actually began back in August, but the programs fall between the September and December timeframe. And I'm excited to report that now that the community center is open, we're actually slowly working to move some of those classes to the new center. And now that we have those fees, lots and lots of interest and phone calls and wanting to be able to utilize the new facility. So we're excited to start opening up those opportunities. And then finally, just some additional information. Again, we always, and as some of the library staff reported, we have a new grouping of individuals eligible to receive vaccines. And so we are continuing to keep the city web pages updated with that information. And then finally, this wasn't specifically in the report, but I also wanted to update the commission that that I've actually gotten a few updates from in regards to the parking study. I wanted to let the commission know that I've had some really positive conversations with maintenance and PD. And so we're actually, I'm working, and I will probably reach out directly to Nelvin and that subcommittee to get some just additional information as we kind of work through the next steps in that process. And in addition, just one other update is that I've connected Rose, who's going to be working with the subcommittee. One of the other projects was the additional drop boxes to return. Rose kind of made a connection for her, so we're going to be working through that process as well. So things are in motion, and I just wanted to let the commission know kind of where we are. So you will, for the drop boxes, you will probably be working through Rose, and then the parking study, I will be reaching out very shortly.
Fantastic. That's great news. Thank you, Jamie. Any questions from the commissioners? I can't see hands. So Jamie, if you...
Absolutely. And I don't currently see any hands raised. Also, you can also feel free. Oh, it looks like Commissioner Bedard has his hand raised.
Hi, I have to say something. Thank you. That's it. Thanks. That's great to see the parking and the drop box move forward.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Any questions from the public?
Well, I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Carol. Thank you.
Jamie, I have a question about the drop boxes. Will they impact traffic at all?
No, that is going to be part of the process. And so essentially process-wise, once ideal locations are identified, and that's what Rose is going to work with the subcommittee members. It will then, we will include engineering so that they can take a look at, if any, impacts to pedestrian and vehicular traffic. So that will be part of the process.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Anybody else? Let me scroll this. Okay. I don't see anybody else. So any members of the public have questions?
I do not currently see any other hands raised.
All right, thank you, Jamie. Okay, so we'll go to the commissioners' reports, the subcommittee reports, and the first subcommittee is the infrastructure subcommittee. We really were working on the NCLA presentation, but we did decide we were going to work on small incremental things. And so the patio door was one of the items we were going to work on. And Carol went out to the library and looked at it at the door. She went on Sunday with her husband. I went on Monday and looked at it. So right now, and I spoke to Sandy, who's one of the the library staff people at Woodland. She said that right now they're not having a noise problem with the back door because it doesn't shut. So it won't close all the way. And I went over and tried it several times and it doesn't close. Something is sticking. And in my experience, I've had doors do that, and it's either the hinges are coming loose from the door frame and they need to be reinforced to hold the door straight so that it doesn't scrape on the bottom, or something else is wrong, but it is scraping on the strike plate on the bottom, of the door frame on the floor. And I'm wondering whose responsibility it is to maintain that door. I know the facility belongs to the city, and the door is part of the building. It's part of the building, which belongs to the city. And so I'm thinking that perhaps the maintenance of that door is the city's responsibility. But Jamie, I thought maybe if we could have you reach out to Manny Hernandez and find out, is the door of the library his bailiwick? And maybe he could come and take a look at it and fix it if it's the city's job. The other thing that Carol spoke to her son, who's an architect, and he thought that perhaps the door closer either may need to be replaced as well. So those are just two items that if those are fixed and the door is less noisy, we may not have to go further and look at trying to replace the door with a new door to solve the noise problem. So it's kind of a stepwise incremental process. What should we do to, should we write you a memo asking you to ask if that's the city's responsibility?
No, absolutely. I have that down on my list, and we can verify which I'll say which jurisdiction that would fall under, and then we can get at least come full circle to let the commission know where the repair would need to be sent to, and so we can verify that.
Okay, that would be great. I'd appreciate it. Rose, I'm not sure if you or Steve have, I mean, do you have any insight on whose responsibility that door is?
Yeah, I was actually going to check with our maintenance supervisor to see, because he's the one who sent me the fire marshal information that I sent you guys.
Yes.
So, if you'd like, Jamie, I could check with him too, just to see, because I'm not, it's the patio door, and right. I would think it might fall under the library, but I'm not sure. So
yeah, I think you might be right, but I think it's always good to verify. I know the back patio area, that definitely falls under the city, and so, but I think that we can verify which one that should be.
Yes. Okay.
It's typically the doors the county handles.
Oh, okay, great, Steve. Okay, so there is that issue. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll follow up with the staff at Woodland, and I'll put a work order in so that they could look at it.
Perfect. That would be super.
It's always crystal clear, Freddie.
Yeah, it just, you know, it just didn't, it seems so logically inconsistent. If the city owns the building, that why is the county responsible for the door, which is part of the building? But
yeah, that's how it works, the inconsistency.
Okay. All right, wonderful. Fantastic. Well, that will be an interesting experiment to see if fixing these things solves the noise problem. That would be wonderful if it did. Carol or Nelvin, any other input about the infrastructure committee, subcommittee?
Not at this time. We do have some ideas, and when we actually make some progress, we can always come back to the commission.
Okay, great. Carol?
Well, I was just going to emphasize that we thought it was a maintenance issue. That it's an old door and it's been slammed a lot and it needs some repair.
Okay, wonderful. All right, well, let's move along to any questions. I'm sorry, any questions from commissioners?
Seeing no hands raised.
Okay, any questions from the public?
No hands raised either.
Thank you so much. So let's go move on to the services subcommittee.
Julie? Can you?
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to take it, or do you want to talk about what we've been doing as a services subcommittee?
I can talk about it. The one thing I have, you know, we've been talking about sort of different services that we can deliver, new ways of delivering the services. There's some things that we like to do, such as a maker's fair. We have currently Rose, correct me if I'm wrong, we have one printer, and you know, we were thinking of ideas where we could demonstrate, frankly, what the library could do with more space. There's a lot of wonderful things to do if we have more space, and so, you know, the idea of sort of delivering different types of services in a different way where we have space, and delivering different types of events, such as a maker's fair, or a maker space, which is a sort of a permanent build out. So we're talking about a lot of, you know, sort of innovative, I think, ideas, new ideas. And I know I've been sort of scouring the websites of different libraries to see what it is they do and what we could talk about, with the hopes that we can leverage that experience. So team, I don't know if that's everything.
I mean, I'm pretty heartened by the fact we're moving forward with the pickups.
Oh yeah.
The pickup stuff I think is important, and we're getting visibility with the city for that, which is a big deal. Also, you know, putting together the work plan made me think about the stuff we did last year, especially around things like the delivery service for books that was essentially picked up by the whole system after testing it out with us. So things like that, you know, I want to, I don't know, on this subcommittee, I hope that we can keep look at the data to drive us to come out with new stuff that, and, you know, do some, you know, come out with reasonable new services for folks. And Shrivari, I think it's important you're new to the team, but I think, you know, you did a big thing.
Thank you, Pierre. I'm not quite sure whether the display would qualify in services or awareness, or perhaps a bit of both. But I would like to thank the librarians for all the help they gave. It was a small idea, but it just happened to get executed quickly. And I went twice already to see the foot traffic coming through. Books are getting picked up. And so it's a nice thing to see it happen. And thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions for the services subcommittee, sorry. Okay. I don't see hands. Jamie, any? No?
I do not currently see any hands raised at this time.
Okay, thank you. And how about members of the public? Any questions for the services subcommittee?
Giving it a second, but I do not currently see any hands raised.
Okay, thank you. So let's move to the awareness subcommittee. Carol, would you like to start off with anything from the report from the awareness subcommittee?
Well, we have our PSAs in place. Rose is working on them. And we have added Stanford University to our area, if you will. Rose, did you have any luck contacting the Stanford report?
Not yet. I've reached out to them 2 times so far, but I haven't had any luck yet.
Okay, well, we'll continue to do that. And if you'd like me to go up to their office when they're open, they claim to be open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, I'll do that. Or you can do it. But, okay. But anyway, I just think everything is perking along pretty well for the awareness.
Great. We have the ad. Rose just finalized the ad for November, the Lolly ad for the town crier, which will be in next Wednesday's edition. And Jamie, can I share screen? Yes? Okay. Yes. Can everyone see this one?
Yes, we can.
Okay, this is the story time theme for November that features Miss Jean, who is very, very, very popular. And we show that there are English, Chinese, and Spanish storytime videos that you can access online. And they have recorded stories, finger plays, songs by all the Santa Clara Library District children's librarians that you can select for your kids whenever you'd like. And so this is a really, really popular resource online by the library. And we're, I think, Rose, if I'm correct, that the last story time is in November at the History Museum patio, the outdoor story time. Is that correct?
Oh. Sorry, could you read? So you the story time will be, the last one will be next week. The last outdoor. Yes.
Yes. So the last outside story time, right?
Yes.
Yes, that will be next week at the History Museum. So this will come out next week as well. And hopefully, you know, if they can't go in person, they can go online and enjoy these. So there you go for that. I'm going to stop sharing. And so that's really the report from the Awareness Subcommittee. Shavari has just joined our subcommittee, and here's another one of those cross-sectional issues where the Diwali exhibit at the library may have been a services, but it was also promoted and publicized. So that's kind of the realm of both of those two subcommittees. Any questions?
No, I just wanted to say one more thing, that it was very enjoyable to do. And in fact, spreading the awareness about that exhibit was something that I really enjoyed doing. And thanks to you, Freddie, for getting it to the Town Crier online version. So we have so much more happening with that small event. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, any questions from the commissioners?
I do not currently see any hands raised.
Okay, any questions from the public?
I'll give it just a second. And no hands raised either.
Okay, let's go to the Future Subcommittee.
Right, we met briefly, primarily to coordinate on the November 2nd meeting with the City Council. We also have set a date for our next meeting, which will be in 2 weeks' time. And I need to send out an agenda that kind of focuses in on what kind of actions we'll be taking over the course of the next year. It'll probably be mostly a brainstorming session to figure out what technologies we might want to pursue. And so, Julie, this is your opportunity to kind of keep us in the dark, okay? The other thing that is important is that we do need to get on to, since the commission had voted regarding formally requesting that the NCLA reconstitute the redevelopment task force, I'm wondering what is the right vehicle for doing that? Is that a presentation to NCLA, because it doesn't sound like they're going to meet anytime soon, or should it just be a letter from the commission to NCLA?
Cindy, do you have some advice for us?
Nelvin, that's a really thought-provoking question. As you can tell, I don't have an immediate answer.
Well, give it some thought, and feel free to email me, because it doesn't sound like the NCLA is going to meet either in November or December.
Yeah, so if we have that short meeting in November and we go around the directors and they ask for any input, I will bring that topic up and see if there's a next step.
Okay,
So thank you.
Yeah, just ask them if they would prefer a letter or if they would want us to actually come, answer questions, present our findings, etc. Really would appreciate that, Cindy.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and that's it for us for now. And at the next commission meeting, we'll have a little more to talk about what happened in our brainstorming session. I believe that's going to be in December, in which case I may not be here, given my travel plans.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Meadows, do you have any input about next steps for the futures subcommittee with respect to the NCLA?
I'm not sure that I do either. I do think that Cindy's suggestion is bring it up and see if there's some consensus on direction for that. But it doesn't hurt to bring the question forward, but let's take it first to NCLA and see how they'd like that framed. And as you suggest, whether a presentation or a little, or a letter or something, or email, memo, whatever. And then we can take it from there. But I don't know. I feel like I don't have the best gauge on that yet, but.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your input. Commissioners, yeah, I see Pierre, you have your hand up.
Yeah, from my experience with the NCLA, what I would do, Nelvin, is send a memo with that formal recommendation, and then if they want to see you, they'll see you. And then you'll also have the memo on record as to what your suggestion is, which you don't really want lost. So that's what I would, my advice.
That's certainly more direct than asking the question of how they want it and then sending it on. So you do skip a step. You just assume that they'll react to the memo or the request. So, I mean, I don't think you can really go wrong either way. It's just which is quicker.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, I'll work on a memo.
Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you, Pierre. Any other questions from any other of the commissioners? I'm scrolling through my gallery. I don't see any hands. Okay. Any questions from the public?
Giving it a second. Do not see any hands raised.
Okay, thank you. The work plan subcommittee, Pierre?
That would just be me. I mean, I thought the presentation went very well for those of you, I thought, Freddie, you did a great job.
Oh, thank you.
Chair Wheeler presenting our commission, and we got great reaction. But no, from the work plan subcommittee, I think, if we stay with the basic plan and just use it as a framework as we move forward, it's the way to go.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you. Any questions from other commissioners? Oh, Councilmember Meadows, you have your hand up?
I do. I just want to thank the commission for, again, putting in a great showing at the Joint Commission Council meeting. So, librarians and people who love librarians just rock.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Meadows. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So any member of the public have any questions for the work plan subcommittee?
Do not currently see any hands raised.
Okay, thank you. So we should go to, well, there was the informational items that were attached, but I think you went through that actually, Jamie. So we could go, yes, okay. We could go to the potential future agenda items. Does anyone have a future agenda item they would like to bring up? Nelvin, I know you wanted to discuss the outcome. Well, perhaps for the January meeting, because you're going to be gone for the December meeting because you have to be out of the country. So perhaps for the January meeting, would you like to report on the future subcommittees outcome, or do you want to just do that as part of these reports?
It'll just be part of our report out, because really what we'll accomplish between now and then would be a brainstorming session, right? And what we can talk about some of the ideas we've come up with to pursue, so that way you're not surprised by what we are going after.
Okay, all right. So anybody have any future agenda items? No. Going once, going twice. So should you have any before the next meeting in December, if you could communicate those to Jamie, that would be perfect. And with that, I think we are at the end of our meeting. So thank you very much, everyone. And Jamie, any last closing remarks we need to make?
No, I again just want to say it was great to see everyone tonight, and then obviously it was wonderful to have that conversation in our joint meeting on Tuesday. And no, this is exciting. That it's 8:02, Chair Wheeler.
Hey, all right.
Hey, the tomatoes worked.
It did, Steve. But now we can all go eat dinner. All right. Well, thank you all. And thank you so much, Steve and Rose, for participating. We really appreciate your presence and your report. So thank you all. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, Mary Jo. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.